Welcome back, everybody. I am Digital Illustrator Mike Meth, and in this video I'm going to be doing another paint-over / critique. So today I received this image here on the right from Luke Cornwall, and he wrote to me, "Hey Mike, I did a new practice painting yesterday, and any advice, criticism is appreciated. Feel free to be harsh." Famous last words. No. He says, "For this piece, I tried using the chalk brush, but ended up using the soft round again. I tweeted earlier about how I need to find the balance from each, the painted texture look of the chalk brush without it looking muddy, and the softness of the soft round with it having no texture and no defined edges. If you could talk about that, that would be really cool. Here's the reference I used, here on the left. He said he edited the contrast and changed it to grayscale because he's working without colors, so he can practice values." Okay, so let's get started. Hang on, my headphones are knotted here. Whatever, I'll deal with it. Anyway, so in looking at this first, it's definitely instantly recognizable. I saw your painting first without any of the reference, and I knew that it was Tom Hardy. It looks like Tom Hardy from Bronson. I guess I never saw that movie. Anyway, so you can definitely tell who it is. The proportions are pretty accurate for the most part. There are a couple things that I would talk about as a way to, to strengthen the piece. And I definitely see what you mean as far as you trying to balance the soft round brush with the chalk brush that I use. Soft round brush. It's a pitfall. I mean, I guess it's definitely a stylistic choice. A lot of people use it, but I think that it's definitely overused with digital painting, and it just makes the whole thing kind of look airbrushy. It takes away from the definition and the structure of the piece. But I definitely get it. There's a reason people use it. It's been around for a long time, and it will most likely continue to be heavily used. But I definitely appreciate you're trying to expand with the harder brushes, using the chalk brush, which is my personal favorite. So I did a paint over of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show mine first, and then I will go in specifically and talk about the things that you could do to improve this piece. So without further ado, and I'm going to keep zoomed in. You've got a wide painting here. I don't want to zoom out too much, I want everybody to be able to see the detail. So this is the original that Luke submitted. Here is my paint over of Tom Hardy. And so now I'm going to go in and specifically talk about some of the things to improve it. I'm going to turn mine on and off for the sake of contrast. So first things first, I think either in the last video or one of the other ones, I really harped on how important it is to take your time with the drawing stage. I don't know how much time you spent on the drawing, but there are some structural inaccuracies which nailing those would really take this thing to the next level. I think a piece like this, working from the reference inherently, is really, really tough. Because you have such high contrast, it's hard to really see the form on its own. So for the most part, as either a beginner or novice, or even someone with a lot of experience, I would advise avoiding pieces like this. There's just too much room for interpretation, and there's too much margin for error without really being able to see the structure and the anatomy as a whole. So yeah, first things first, I would take more time on the original drawing to get the structure right. You really have you need to have a really strong foundation in anatomy, and I'll show you I'll make a new layer on top of yours and talk about some of the things that I mean. So first things first. First of all, I blew this image up big time. I don't know what resolution you were working on, Luke, but I definitely advise cranking it pretty high up. It just gives you more flexibility. If you do have a slower machine, it can start to lag if you go too high, but if you can pull it off, I would definitely recommend working at a higher resolution. So first things first, I'm going to do some basic discussion of anatomy. The brow ridge. The brow ridge is the most important part of any, portrait or face or anything to that effect. And the reason for that is it structurally sets the tone for the entire piece. If the brow ridge is off, the rest of the structure is going to be really hard to get accurate. And in order to get an accurate brow ridge, you need to know the structure. You need to know the structure of the skull. So just looking at this, his brow ridge is going to come up like that. The nose attaches here. And I'm not going for realism. I'm just, illustrating the structure here. This is where the brow ridge, comes back in. And then it juts back out kind of like this. I'm doing these lines kind of to show things in quasi-perspective. And then you've got, I think it goes maybe a little bit further back for him. And then you've got the kind of spherical protuberance of the skull. You got the side planes. Anyway, the bottom part of the eye socket goes around here. So I'm going to define this on both sides for you. And that'll really help you, getting the structure down will really help you to see better, especially if you have a really high contrast reference photo like this. Even if you can't see the plane changes here, knowing the anatomy will help you to see it for yourself. And then the side planes of the nose. So the nose, there's the bone part of the skull ends around here, okay? So there's a plane here, and then it picks up with cartilage. You got one set of cartilage here, and then you've got cartilage for the tip of the nose, and then the wings of the nose. So it's really those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guess, side plane, flare of the nostril, this piece of cartilage, this piece of cartilage, and the bridge, and then the top. It's those different pieces of the nose that, even looking at him, it's kind of hard because it starts to blend together, but if you look closely, you can see the subtle plane changes. And then you've got the muzzle, this is called. So the mouth, I've definitely spoken about this in other videos, both the mouth region and the eyes. A lot of people have a tendency to draw them as flat objects on the head, but they're actually, it's like taking a rubber ball. So if we're taking this mouth region and we got a rubber ball here, the mouth is kind of like a slit in that rubber ball, okay? And when it opens, it's like the ball, the slit, stretching the slit of the ball open. Okay, and then you've got the chin here, which extends back here towards the jaw. You've got your cheekbones. Cheekbones is a really, another really important piece. You've got your cheekbones here, which extend, branch down to where the ears attach. Okay, I hope this is clear. It might not be, I don't know. These are the basic plane changes. You've got the jaw that extends here, and then picks up around here. If you can make sense of this at all, props to you. So that's the basic structure of all this. And talking about the the rubber ball thing, it's going to be the same thing. Maybe I should pick a different color here. It's going to be the same thing with your eye. So you've got the, the eyeball that sits in here. Imagine it as a rubber ball. You got the iris here, and then you've got the eyelid on both sides. So it's like that rubber ball. The bottom of it, you start to lose it maybe because it, it juts back out in this part of the eye socket and the cheekbone, and you might lose this top part too, especially with someone like him, where he's got this flesh, he's got these hooded eyes, which overlays the top part of the lid. But anyway, another important thing to notice is if you look at the reference, you can see there are some subtle plane changes on the eyelids themselves. For example, you've got your, let's use that color again. You've got your, this is in grayscale. RGB. You've got your eyelid here, and then it recedes. So there's a bottom down-facing plane here, okay? And conversely, there's an up-facing plane here, and then the bottom of the lid. So it's really important to play those up. So when I show my finished piece, I'm definitely making sure to hit all of those plane changes. You've got the up-facing plane on the eyelid, the bottom eyelid, the down-facing plane here. Where are we with time? We're about 12 minutes. So plane changes, and you can actually see with my brush work, I'm actually illustrating all of the plane changes. So you've got the brow ridge here, and I am, with my brush work, showing how those planes go. And then you've got the brow ridge recedes here. You've got that sort of spherical mass. You can see how I rendered the different pieces of the nose. The side planes of the nose. So another important thing, if you're going for a likeness, as you are here with Tom Hardy, you want to pay attention. Every person has their key distinguishing features that set them apart. And for Tom Hardy, he's got those kind of crazy looking eyes. So that's something really important you want to hit. He's got very distinct eyes. He's got a very distinct brow ridge where he has these, the little eyebrow. I don't know if they're scars or whatever. I think maybe he shaves them in reality. But anyway, the most important things with him, his distinguishing features are his eyes, his kind of crazy looking eyes, his prominent brow ridge, where you've got the upper peak, the outer part of the eyebrows here. You've got his distinct looking nose. I know it's hard to really make it out because it's an upshot, but he's got a pointed nose, where this part right here juts out more than any of the other parts. It's kind of a slope from the side. I think it would look like here. So here's the bridge, and then he's got this little bit here, and then you got the nostrils. Anyway, I'm on one layer. And another thing are his lips. He's got very distinct lips, which I think you hit upon here with your painting. I would just make sure, because there are plane changes on the lips too. If you can see, you've got kind of, if this is in color, this is like the pink part of the lip, and then there's another piece of that ridge here. So you can see that there's actually, two separate pieces. This is the red part, and then you've got the flesh-colored part where it kind of wraps around. You got the underplane here, and then the prominence of the chin. If you look closely, there's actually a couple pieces. You've got this top plane here. You got a couple side planes too, and then sort of a clef right here, the dark part. What else? What else can I touch upon? Let's try and wrap this up. in a bit. I'm going to undo all these changes I made. Probably should have put all that stuff on its own layer. So yeah, what I try to do is kind of do this angular brushwork or hatching to, even though it's simple, there's not a whole lot of contrast on the face itself. I use my brushwork to hint the contours and the volume of the planes. Let's pull in here. Another really important thing that I do, I constantly flip my work horizontally, like this, and the reference, because as artists, most artists, we have a tendency to maybe slant things or have things slightly inaccurate. So one of the best things you can do is, I have this set to a hotkey, but you can do image, where is it? Image rotation, flip canvas horizontal. And just do that constantly as you're going through your workflow to make sure your proportions and things are accurate. Eyes. I always like to talk about eyes. Eyes are always the focal point on a face. So you want to make sure your eyes look okay and that they're both pointing the same way, which is great. I've always, for whatever reason, had a lot of trouble with that. So I need to really make sure that my eyes are facing the same way and that these specular highlights are consistent with that. Because if you throw the specular highlight in the wrong place, it can make the eye look like it's looking in a different direction. Another thing, with mine, I added a little bit of thickness to his neck. You're losing that a little bit because you've got the sternomastoid muscles, which stretch from behind, slightly behind the ear, behind the ear, and it goes all the way down to about here, where you got your clavicle. And his are really prominent. That's another really distinguishing feature of him. What else can I hit? You did a nice job with your cast shadow here. I would also make sure that you play a little more with the contour of the shoulders. Another distinguishable feature of Tom Hardy is he's got those really big traps, the really big prominent trapezius muscles. So I would, make those prominent as well. Yeah, don't be afraid to get a little loose and sketchy. I know that you have a tendency, Luke, to rely on the soft round, but I think especially sometimes it might help to do what I did here and kind of have those angular marks just so you can practice getting those plane changes, because you really need them. It's the most important part, and it's the biggest thing as an artist that you can tell whether someone's just kind of fudging it and eyeballing off the reference or whether they actually know what they're doing. So I would definitely study your anatomy. I know Andrew Loomis has some really great books on how to draw faces, how to draw the head and the skull, and I think they're all public domain. So I would definitely invest in those. Well, not invest because they're free, but take time to learn the structure, and that really sets the foundation for everything else. I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about here. Just keep practicing. If you are new to this sort of thing, make sure if you're working from reference that you use reference that's going to set you up for success. You don't want crazy contrast like this, because it's just going to make it too hard. There's too much guesswork where unless you really have some type of a mastery of the anatomy and the plane changes, it's too much work. So work with something that's a little bit easier to read and just keep practicing. So Luke, thank you for letting me work on your image here. It's been a lot of fun to do this. Hope you got something out of it. Everybody else who's watching, I hope that you guys got something out of it. And that's all I got for this time. If you guys have any other questions or comments or things you want to see, feel free to let me know. Comment on YouTube. hit me up on Facebook or Twitter or wherever I am, and be happy to work on that. You know, I enjoy doing some of these freebies. The ultimate goal, obviously, is to bring you guys into my education business. But I feel like it's important to give back a little bit, just because if you don't know who I am and you don't know how I teach, it's important to give a taste. And, you know, I'm all about the community, so I love doing this for you guys. You know, that's why I teach in the first place, is to help you guys improve. And in doing it, in doing demos like this, I'm constantly learning as well. So that's all I got for you this time. Comments, whatever you got, leave them for me, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks again.